Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to dive into something that I find really fascinating, AI agents, and how they can be used to power humanoid robots.
It's an area that's just exploding right now.
It is. And we've got some great sources to help us understand this stuff.
Yeah.
So we've got AI agent design patterns, which is really about how to build these things.
Yeah.
And then we have AI agents in humanoid robotics, which gets into like the challenges of putting these into physical robots.
Right, like Boston Dynamics.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or Tesla.
Yeah. And then we have a really interesting transcript called AI Robot Agency that kind of looks at like the big picture of where this tech is going.
Yeah, it's almost philosophical.
Yeah, it is. So I guess our mission today is to figure out like what makes these agents tick,
Yeah.
Like how do they work? How do they think? How do they make decisions?
And can we see them doing that?
Right. Can we see that process happening?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, how do we actually design an AI that can control a robot safely?
Because those robots can be pretty powerful.
They can be. I mean, especially if you're talking about like, the robots from Boston Dynamics.
Absolutely.
So, I guess one of the first things that I'm kind of struggling with is the difference between like a workflow and an agent.
Oh, yeah. Good question.
Like what makes an agent so special?
It's all about decision making.
Okay.
So, think of a workflow as like a set of instructions,
Right.
like a recipe.
Mm-hmm.
The AI is just following those steps,
It's just executing.
Yeah, exactly. Like a line worker on an assembly line.
And it's not very adaptable.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
It's great for simple tasks, but not when things get complex.
Okay.
An agent, though, it's more like a chef.
Okay.
They can adapt, they can make decisions on the fly.
They can improvise.
Oh, yeah.
Like a jazz musician.
Exactly. And the secret sauce there is something called an augmented LLM.
Okay.
Augmented large language model.
So it's a large language model, but it's been enhanced.
Right. It has tools like for searching or using other software.
So it can actually do stuff.
It can interact with the world.
This is cool.
It is.
So how do you actually build one of these things, though?
Well, AI agent design patterns talks about these things called compositional patterns.
Okay.
They're like building blocks for agents.
So like Lego bricks
Yeah.
for AI.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
And there's a bunch of different types, like prompt chaining.
What's that?
It's where you break down a big task into smaller steps,
Right.
like when an artist sketches before painting.
Oh, so it makes it more manageable.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Then you've got routing, which is like a triage nurse in an ER,
Okay.
figuring out where things need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And parallelization, which is like a team of construction workers.
All working at the same time?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And if you need multiple AIs to work together, you can use the orchestrator workers pattern.
So it's like a conductor in an orchestra?
Exactly. One AI manages the others.
Cool.
And then there's the evaluator optimizer pattern,
Okay.
where one AI creates and another one critiques and suggests improvements.
So it's like having a built-in coach.
Exactly.
Oh.
It helps the AI get better over time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I can't help thinking about those humanoid robots,
Yeah.
The idea of an AI controlling a robot is a little scary.
I mean, especially if they make the wrong decision.
Exactly.
Well, that's where the idea of making the AI's thought process visible comes in.
Okay.
It's not just about getting the right answer, but understanding how it got there.
Oh, so you can see the AI thinking
Exactly.
so that you can trust it more.
Especially when it's controlling something powerful.
Right. So, for example, if an AI was controlling a rescue robot, you'd want to see how it was making decisions in a dangerous environment.
Absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense. But combining AI with a robot just seems so complex.
It is.
Like, where do you even begin?
AI agents and humanoid robotics has some good insights there.
Okay.
They talk about the AI as the robot's Geist.
Like a ghost?
Kinda, yeah, like the controlling intelligence.
I like that.
And when you're designing this interaction between the Geist and the robot,
Yeah,
safety is paramount.
of course.
You need to clearly document the robot's limitations.
And its safety protocols.
Right. You don't want a super strong robot accidentally hurting someone.
No, definitely not. Then what?
Well, you also want the robot to move naturally,
Okay.
not all jerky and weird.
Right? Like a dancer.
Exactly.
Graceful.
Yep.
But how do you prevent errors?
Well, you need safeguards,
Like what?
like collision avoidance systems and automatic speed adjustment.
Oh, okay, so like a backup system.
Exactly.
But how does the AI even know what the robot is doing?
Sensors.
Okay.
Lots and lots of sensors.
To give it information about the world.
Exactly. The robot's position, the forces it's experiencing whether it's completing its tasks.
So it's like giving the AI senses, sight, touch, and hearing,
Exactly.
and then the robot needs to communicate back to the AI.
Right. It needs to signal its status and any problems.
So they can work together effectively.
It's like a partnership.
I see.
And what happens if something goes wrong?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
The robot needs to know how to fail gracefully.
What does that mean?
It needs to stop safely and communicate the problem.
Oh, so it can ask for help.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Then what about different tasks?
Ah, yes. Robots need what we call task-appropriate movement.
So they can be gentle when they need to be.
Right. And strong when necessary.
Okay, cool.
And finally, there's environmental integration.
What's that?
The robot needs to understand its surroundings.
So it doesn't bump into things.
Exactly.
This is wild.
Hmm.
So what's the ultimate goal for these robots?
Well, AI Robot Agency talks about a top-rated agent humanoid robot,
Okay.
one that's incredibly capable both physically and mentally.
So it's not just strong, it's smart too.
Exactly, and it can even understand and respond to human social cues.
Wow.
Imagine a robot that can help you with surgery.
Or explore the ocean.
Or even create art.
It's mind-blowing.
It is.
But we need to be careful, right?
Absolutely. We need to make sure these robots are safe and ethical.
And that they're used for good.
Exactly.
Well, this has been an incredible journey so far.
It has.
But I'm curious to know more about the actual tools an AI agent would use to control a robot.
Oh, the sensors.
Yeah, like how does it perceive the world?
Well, AI Robot Agency gives a good overview.
Okay.
It talks about visual systems like high-resolution cameras, depth sensors, infrared imaging,
So it can see everything.
in amazing detail. And then there's tactile feedback,
Okay.
pressure sensors in the fingertips, force feedback from the joints.
So it can feel things too.
Exactly.
Ah.
And then there are proprioceptive systems.
Proprio what?
Proprioceptive.
Okay.
It's like an internal GPS for the
It
robot.
knows where its limbs are,
Exactly.
even if you can't see them.
That's crazy. And then there's environmental sensors.
Right. Things like atmospheric sensors, sound sensors, chemical detectors.
So it's aware of its surroundings.
Completely.
Yeah.
And all of this information goes to the AI agent.
Yes. The Geist uses this information to make decisions in real time.
It's amazing.
It is. It's like a super fast brain.
So it can react quickly to changes in the environment.
Exactly.
This is incredible.
It is.
I mean, if we can make an AI's thinking process visible, does that make it more understandable?
Yeah.
You know,
That's a great question.
more relatable?
Maybe even more human-like in a way.
Yeah. That's a really interesting thought.
It is. And we'll explore that more in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait.
So, we were talking about making an AI's thought process visible.
Yeah, like if we could see how it thinks, would that make it seem more human to us?
Right. Like, would it make us more comfortable with the idea of AI?
Because if we understood the reasoning,
Yeah.
we might be more likely to accept its decisions, you know?
It's like understanding how a magic trick is done.
Oh, I see what you mean.
The mystery is gone, but you appreciate the skill even more.
Yeah, and it could build more trust
Exactly.
instead of just seeing AI as a black box. But how do you actually make an AI's thoughts visible? I mean, that's a pretty complex thing.
Well, imagine you have an AI doctor,
Okay.
and instead of just telling you the diagnosis, it could show you all the steps it took.
Like the factors it considered, the research it looked at?
Exactly like a human doctor explaining their reasoning.
So you'd see the why, not just the what.
Exactly. It becomes more like a collaborator.
That's cool.
It is.
And then thinking about the Geist.
Yeah, the robot's controlling intelligence.
If we could see that working, it wouldn't be so abstract anymore.
Right, it would become more real.
More tangible.
And we might be less afraid of these robots,
Yeah, because we'd understand them better.
Exactly.
But thinking practically, how does a robot's Geist actually work in the real world?
Well, that's where the sensors come in.
Right. All those sensors we talked about.
AI Robot Agency goes into a lot of detail about this.
Oh, cool.
They talk about how these sensors give the robot amazing abilities,
Like superhuman senses.
Yeah.
So what kind of things can it see?
Well, it could have cameras, depth sensors, infrared imaging.
Wow.
It could see in 3D, detect heat signatures, and track movement incredibly precisely.
That's insane.
It is.
But what about touch?
Ah, yes. Tactile feedback.
Can it feel things?
Oh, yeah. It could have pressure sensors in its fingertips.
Oh, wow.
And force feedback from its joints so it knows how much pressure it's applying.
It could even feel textures, right?
And temperatures.
That's crazy. It's like it has a real sense of touch,
It does, and this would be essential for tasks that need dexterity.
like surgery or something.
Exactly.
Okay, what else?
Well, then you have proprioceptive systems.
Proprio what?
Proprioceptive.
Okay.
It's like an internal awareness of the body.
So it knows where all its limbs are.
Exactly. It's like an internal GPS.
That's amazing. So
It
it
is.
doesn't get confused about its own body?
Right. Even in the dark, it knows where everything is.
Wow. This is blowing my mind.
It is pretty cool.
Okay, what other sensors are there?
Well, there are environmental sensors,
Okay.
things that detect things in the environment, like air quality, sounds, chemicals.
Oh, so it can like smell things.
Kinda, yeah.
That's wild. And all of this information gets sent to the AI agent
Right to the Geist. And it uses this information to make decisions.
in real time.
Yeah, it's constantly processing and analyzing.
This is incredible. It's like the robot has a sixth sense, you know?
It does, in a way.
Yeah.
It's perceiving the world in ways we can't.
This is really cool.
It is. And it has huge potential.
Yeah, but it also has some potential risks.
Of course, every new technology has risks.
So what do we need to be careful of?
Well, for one thing, we need to be careful about job displacement.
Oh, yeah. Robots taking over people's jobs.
Exactly.
That's a real concern.
It is, and we need to find ways to address it.
Like retraining programs and things.
Exactly. We need to help people adapt.
Okay, what else?
Well, we also need to make sure these robots are used for good.
Right. Like we don't want them turning evil
Exactly. We need ethical guidelines and regulations.
to keep them in check.
Yes, and we need to think carefully about how much autonomy we give them.
Right. We don't want them becoming too independent.
Exactly. It's all about finding the right balance.
Between control and freedom.
Yeah, and transparency is key.
So we can understand their decision making.
And trust them.
Because ultimately we want to collaborate with these robots.
Exactly. Not fear them.
This is all pretty mind-blowing.
It is. It's a really exciting time to be alive.
It is, and it's scary too.
Yeah, but I think if we're careful and thoughtful, we can create a future where humans and robots coexist peacefully.
And work together to solve some of the world's biggest problems.
Exactly. It's a future full of potential.
It is, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
Me too.
Yeah.
Now, in the final part of our deep dive, we'll take a look at some of the challenges and pitfalls that lie ahead.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I can't wait.
It's like we're standing on the edge of something brand new.
I know, it's kind of exciting and scary all at the same time.
Definitely. Like we were talking about, there are those potential downsides to consider.
Yeah, like what happens to people's jobs when robots can do them better?
Exactly. It's a valid concern.
It is.
The AI agents in humanoid robotic source even mentions this specifically.
It does.
The idea of job displacement,
Yeah.
it could really impact certain industries, you know?
Yeah, like what can we even do about that?
Well, we have to think about retraining and education.
So people can learn new skills.
Right. We need to help people adapt to this new reality.
Yeah, because we can't just stop progress.
Exactly.
Right.
We need to find a way for everyone to benefit.
Okay, so jobs are one thing, but what about the potential for misuse? You know?
Ah, the classic
Yeah.
robots turning evil scenario.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
every powerful technology can be used for good or bad.
Right. It all comes down to how we choose to use it.
So how do we make sure these robots are used ethically
Well, we need clear guidelines and regulations.
to control their development and use?
Exactly. We need to be thinking about these things now before it's too late.
Right, because once the technology is out there, it's hard to put it back in the box. So what about the idea of robots becoming too autonomous? You know?
Ah, yes, a fear of the robots taking over.
Yeah, like what if they start making their own decisions?
Well, that's where the balance of autonomy and control comes in.
Okay.
We want robots that can operate independently to some extent.
Right, to be useful.
Exactly. But we also need to make sure they're aligned with human values.
So they don't go rogue.
Right.
And that's where transparency comes in again.
Right, exactly. If we can understand how these AIs are making decisions,
Yeah.
we can better anticipate and prevent any problems.
So it all comes back to trust.
It does. We need to be able to trust these robots, and that trust is built on transparency.
I see.
It's about demystifying the technology, making it understandable and open to scrutiny.
So we can feel confident that it's being used responsibly.
Exactly.
Well, it's pretty amazing to think about this future where humans and robots are working together.
It is. It has the potential to be truly transformative.
Yeah, like imagine robots helping with surgeries or exploring the ocean.
Or even creating art.
The possibilities are endless.
They really are. It's a future full of potential, but we need to approach it carefully.
Right, we need to have these conversations now.
Exactly. We need to talk about the ethical implications, the potential risks, and how we can mitigate them.
Because ultimately, we want to create a future where these technologies benefit everyone
Absolutely. It's not about robots versus humans. It's about humans and robots working together.
to create a better world.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
It really
I've
has.
learned so much,
Me too.
and I hope our listeners have too.
I hope so.
It's clear that AI agents and humanoid robots are going to play a huge role in our future.
They are, and it's up to all of us to shape that future responsibly.
Absolutely.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
And until next time, keep exploring the world with curiosity and an open mind.